preparem, porque chegou a hora.
Extra velocity winning a major championship.
Smokey won't find it. It's done from a minor to a major final.
Desistir jamais, velho.
Right now we have 1 hour left on tape, and that would do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so back on the days, I think CS 1.6 was in good shape in Brazil until 2010.
Eu quero uma.
That's exactly when double
Olha
CD...
eu ali, olha o Pocão ali, organizador e com microfone falando: Mandique, favor comparecer ao palco. Olha o Pocão aí.
A big tournament that used to do
Usava boné, hein? Olha eu com boné. Agora eu sem boné.
qualifications in all countries and then get them together in a place. Stop doing CS. It was such a big tournament important in Brazil that CS was kind of living through that tournament. So once they cut it down, everyone was like, oh, we have no reason to play CS 1.6 anymore. For the following years, from 2011 to 13, I was kind of trying to keep the scene alive in Brazil, just because I really love CS.
Fala galera, hoje eu vou dar uma ensinada para vocês em como...
Felt that I could do a change, I could make a difference on helping people to get better, play more CS, you know, play tournaments. I was casting the tournaments myself.
Nadia pegar K, consegue pegar K. Quem sabe ele consiga. Opa!
I was doing it all. Of course,
Provavelmente jogo de madrugada, hein? Eu sei como é que é, né, professor? Não pode falar alto, né? Não pode falar alto. Não pode falar alto.
Felt that I could do a change, I could make a difference on helping people to get better, play more CS, you know, play tournaments. I was casting the tournaments myself.
Nadia pegar K, consegue pegar K. Quem sabe ele consiga. Opa!
I was doing it all. Of course, I had help from some other people. Together, we were doing a big difference in the CS community. In around 2012 and 13, we heard about CSGO kicking in. And at first, when I first tried the game, I thought it would be a disaster, just like it was in Condition Zero, for example, was in CS Source. Like, I didn't feel like that was it. The recoil was so bad, like, it didn't feel like CS at all. And I was like, dude, this is not it. And then a lot of people in Brazil were already moving to it. I can mention Taco, for example. Taco was one of those guys who was, okay, this is it, we gotta go CSGO. And I kept doing CS 1.6 for a little bit more months. I kicked ass and started doing CSGO. And I remember in 2013 that one of the things that happened is we didn't have South American servers. So CSGO was coming in and there was matchmaking for Europe, matchmaking for North America, but no matchmaking for us. And then we started on Facebook and everyone in the community started hashtag Valve at our servers, you know, in Portuguese, and everyone started this movement. And within a week,
Toledo! Os caras do HLTV usavam o sobrenome do Fallen pra falar dele. Toledo.
So we felt like,
Senhor
okay,
Toledo
you know,
comentou
like, so we kept going from there. And I think it really changed in 2014 at the very end. We received a spot and a chance to go to ESWC France. So that would be our first CSGO appearance. And we didn't have the money to go. At the time, we decided to get together to merge two teams. We had Kaboom at the time, who was me, the twins, Lucas and Henny, FNX and Fur. And we decided to merge this team with TD, who had an owner. His name is Sleepy. He was a big guy, helped CSGO so much in the beginning.
Não só o CSGO, né? O Lipe ajudou muito também o CS 1.6, né? God.
So we bring some players together. We got Steel and ZKK and Boats, and me and Fur. So we kind of collided those teams. Even though we had those teams together, it was still hard to go to France. And that's when we used the Games Academy money, and we told people, hey, this month, every single monthly payment is going to go towards the tournament. And it was amazing because we basically had 4 times more instantly. People in the community were like...
o Brasil, velho, o brasileiro, mano, se ele vê um bagulho God, velho, ele vai sempre se esforçar pra ajudar, velho, no que ele puder, tá ligado? E aí vai juntando, mano, o cara que pode mais, o cara que pode menos, mas todo mundo no mesmo pensamento, velho.
We're gonna support you guys. And boom, we went to France to play the first tournament.
Ó, tem gente aí no chat falando que doou 10 conto, mano. Muita gente, né? Que são os heróis anônimos, na real, né, velho?
Essa?
I mean, we lost basically all games there. I think it was 1-4. I even remember Fer telling Pasha, I want to take a picture of this guy. Might never see him again, you know, like he wasn't.
Caraca, né, mano? Olha as histórias, velho.
This move, like, this is a once in a life opportunity, taking photos with Pasha.
Olha o Fer, mano. Essa época, se batesse um vento, hoje o Ferzão tá,
And then we
mano.
moved back to Brazil, and
Fer, um projeto maromba, né?
then this qualification for MLG shows up. And that was big because this was our WCG event. Like, if there's a tournament people are going to play for, they're going to take us out and going to pay for the hotels, pay for the accommodation, pay for the trip. That's what we need.
Steal, get it, it's over! Just like that, Cloud9 get obliterated!
So we went to this tournament. We won a map against Cloud9 there pretty convincingly on Mirage. We had some different strategies.
Caramba,
you know, like people were like, oh,
sempre Xangares. Olha essa
those guys
Cloud9,
exist, like, they
velho.
can do
Nossa.
different things, right? A week later, we managed to go to Colorado and play the Denver tournament. And we are able to beat Fnatic a map there. So coming from South America, you beat Cloud9 at first, and then you do good against the best team in the world at the time. After that, we go back to Brazil. And that's literally going from 100 to 0 again, because in Brazil, you were not facing any of those competitions. But then we saw that American League was coming in with ESL. And then there was no South America, of course, you know, for Brazilians always come late. Yeah. So we're like, maybe we can play there. And all the Brazilian community, they start reacting all together like, hey, you guys need to add one South American team. Why not? You know, like those guys. But after they start realizing so many comments are coming in, so many feedbacks, they're like, if you guys come live in North America, you can play it. Basically, that's basically how it went. You know? And they were like, all right, we can do it. You know, we have no idea. And then ZKK was like, I have a friend in the United States who maybe can accommodate us for 3 months. And that's when Ricardo, who is now with 00 Nation and were so many years with us in SK,
Oh,
LG,
that's
when he kicks in with Camila. And he's like, okay, you guys can come, no problem, we're gonna figure it out.
Que foi muitíssimo, é até hoje, né? Mas foi muitíssimo importante nesse momento, né, da nossa história, né, velho? Fez a nossa história.
Good day.
Let's keep it short.
Yeah.
What was it like having 5 gamers
Inclusive,
move in
que hora que vai
and
chegar aí,
change
Dad?
your whole home life?
Well, 7.
7.
7 the start. I was pretty weird, I would say. Like, I've been playing the
Dad e a
game
Camila, claro, né?
throughout like 15
Que
years.
a Camila na casa dela também, né? Então, né?
I was really good friends with ZQK back then. He got in touch with me saying like, oh, we're gonna have a tournament right there. I think it was like EPL or something like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, let me know when you guys are playing. And I just gonna come and check and say hi. 20 minutes later, they're like, yeah, we have no place to stay. Can we stay at your place? Of course, I went to ask my wife if we could do that. She's like, okay, but how long? I asked them, like, oh, the tournament just gonna take 2 months. They end up like being with us for 6 years.
Caraca! Vim pra passar um final de semana e comprei a sua casa, né?
5 years. When they got there, it was like pretty intense, I would say. Not in a sense that like tournaments, but pretty intense that people really wanted to make it work. And that feeling I will never forget. I've been throughout like almost like 50, 60 players, and just few of them actually had this fire that's like make it or break it. It was pretty crazy, but it was probably one of the most fun times I ever had.
We go to US as Kid Stars. After the first major, that's when some international organizations start showing up, and then we transition to LG.
Começou.
So when thinking about
Agora começou.
this change, Taco and FNX for Bolts and Steel, and also Zeus for NAC too, when we made those 3 changes, as a person, I already knew FNX from the past, and I even told the guys, I know FNX, it's gonna work. We just don't know for how long, because I already lived that with him for so many years. I already lived this moment with him for 2 or 3 times. It's gonna be the 4th. And he delivered much more.
Take a breath.
You know, in terms of performance, he was exactly what I wanted. You know, he was winning the clutches. He was the guy that could perform. I had no idea about Taco. You know, something very personal about Taco is I kind of doubt him at first. He's the type of people who will put the team at first, you know. It's the team at first, and I'm going to do everything the team needs.
Olá, vamos ouvir concentrado aí.
I already knew that. But as a player, as performance-wise, I was a little bit skeptical. And there was one game we played against NIP at the very first tournament. He won a 1v4 Mirage game. He's retaking A from jungle. Alu, for some reason, jumps in triple, gives him a kill. He managed to get 3 more. That's when I say he has it all, baby. You know?
Caraca, mano.
Jungle.
É foda, né? Mas que leiteragem, hein, Nip? Desculpa, eu fui criado agora pela torcida do Vasco. Que leiteragem esse 1x4 também, hein, Nip?
Alu, for some reason, jumps in triple, gives him a kill. He managed to get 3 more. That's when I say he has it all, baby. You know?
When you get the call from Fallen to join LG, how long did it take you to make up your mind?
It was fast. Deep in my heart, when FNX told me that we could make a difference joining them, that's exactly what I felt. I knew that they needed someone like me in their team. I knew that they needed someone that is selfless.
Dos caras, né? Com certeza não do taco, né? Os caras foram meio no arrasto ali, queria, aí, novatão, aí, vamos pegar esse cara, perderam um X4. Fizeram o highlight pro cara.
Them to achieve what they wanted to achieve, because they had already Coldzera and Fur, obviously Fallen. With these 3 pieces, you don't need another star. You don't need another star player. So I knew that I could make the difference.
Verdade, né?
That's the biggest reason why I decided to join them, and that was not a hard decision, to be fair.
You know, it was clear that the potential was there for that Brazilian lineup, making 3 top 8s at the majors, but it was also, you know, the era of a lot of best of ones, map randomizers and whatnot, and you could tell if they were going to make it to the next level, changes had to be made. Once they did pull the trigger on that change, you know, Taco joining with Zeus a day before the Face It Grand Finals, you know, at the DreamHack Winter, there were a lot of question marks. The first game that lineup ever played was a 16-0 loss.
I remember after we lost 16-0, I got the team together and I said, what's the difference? Had we lost 16-14, would you feel better? It's a new team. You know, like we gotta go through stuff.
But from that first loss, they ended up playing in the grand final of that event against Fnatic and being 1-0 up. That was the best result that lineup ever had in their first event with almost no practice with Taco. So you could tell that it was very promising, that it seemed like they did make the correct...
Eles falam que eles foram conversando sobre as táticas, né? E sobre as posições no avião, né? Porque eles não tiveram nenhum dia de treino.
Decision, right? Cold was already establishing himself at that point as a star player of the team, and obviously Fallen as the experienced in-game leader and the AWP player, having a lot of impact himself.
Falem, mano, não que ele não der. Falezão, eu confio, inclusive eu tô sentindo uma parada nesse mês, mas, mano, falem nessa época aqui, mano, o que ele fez de jogadas de... Mano, cê é louco, velho, bicho era... O que o Faker tá fazendo aí, cara? Ah, tá. É CBLU agora?
I actually believe Luminosity has what it takes in this final in total, and on Overpass, yeah, I feel this is a map, one of the maps they actually have to win in order to win this grand final.
You know, a lot of things fell into place. They beat already Fnatic in a best-of-1 in a group stage of that tournament. They had a grueling series against Navi in the semifinal, where Navi actually revealed some of the strategies they had been saving for the major, some boosts on Overpass, notoriously triple boosts. They managed to grind out some tough games. I felt that really hardened them. Seeing as how they lost a couple of close series to Fnatic, you know, this has to be the one time that it goes their way.
Katowice 2006, I remember this. Oof, it's like 2-3 rounds that I remember. It's gonna haunt me forever in that game, but of course you always had an eye for like Fallen.
God Chris que vai estar no Major, hein? Vai estar no Major, é lenda,
velho. Around the game, like
é lenda.
Season earlier, I didn't even play. I believe we did.
Calvo, cara. O cara é careca, brother. Pelo amor de Deus, galera.
Super comeback against them on Overpass. I think that got the gas out of the tank, or how do you want to say it, of them. And you can only get that experience from playing more finals, right? So I think they weren't like 100% ready. After that comeback, I think we just had the game.
Não dá pra ver filme com vocês não, cara.
As you were desperate to win because you wanted so much, because you won it, so you're already gonna change the way you think. You're already gonna behave differently. And I think when the feeling that we would win would show up, on the most nervous times, you know, like on the finals, when deciding factors could change, we were still choking because the mental factor wasn't too strong.
We realized we're a good team, we have the pieces, but the start of the match, towards the end of the match, the rhythm changes, the story that you're telling changes, and closing out a match needs a layer of experience, but it also needs a layer of patience. And that was the biggest thing for us.
Olha o pleno aí! O que você disse, seu moleque? O Zelão aí, porra. Zelão em inglês total.
We learn to control all the emotions. Everyone says Brazilians are hype. We are. And that can be very positive, but it can have a toll on you in the moment in the game where you let your emotions take control of you, where you're not thinking clearly, where sometimes you just need to stop, relax, let them make the mistake, and then you can close it out.
Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. Yet again, they lose 3-0, but 2 of the 3 maps go into overtime, right? It's another close series, and also something felt off, right? Cold was the worst performer for LG in that series, being one of their best.
Caraca, o Cold meteu 16/30, mano. Não lembrava disso, não.
Players, obviously, and on the other side, you had Olof with a signature grand final, right? Best player of 2015. It wasn't.
O Fallen zicou, hein? O Fallen zicou, hein? Ele falou antes de começar o jogo que ia ser Olof versus Cold, né?
Meant to be in Katowice either, but you could tell, you know, it was about to happen. Success was just around the corner for the Brazilians.
Opa! Opa!
Again, the first base is a Dren. He's gonna hit the roll. Oh! What a jumping double for Cold! What is going on right now?
Effective, actually. Oh, and gets the shot on the play. I mean, even spots the man. Good night, Zeus!
It may just be destined to be Luminosity winning their first major championship.
Tech9's to work with. They're trying to shut them down as they walk back through, but FNX and Fallen wants to do it instead. Which does fall down, but Fallen recovers that and pulls it back. Snack's down as well. He's on the M4 this time. He's got 2. Transfer on to Nino. Snack's trying to find the equalizer, but look at Cole go! He's got an ace in overtime. SK Gaming, second major championship in a row.
I feel like I remember that time pretty well.
Yeah. Ó, o Elijão, velho! Elijão vai ter música pro Elijão, é brasileiro, hein? Elijão é brasileiro. Quando a Liquid for jogar, nós vamos gritar, hein, Elijão?
And just didn't make any mistakes. He was so fundamentally sound, and that's just like the traits of like a top tier player. Like they just don't make mistakes. They make things happen out of nowhere, and it's just really hard to play against players like that.
He couldn't make a mistake when he was playing the game. When you're playing against that, you have to understand that when you're in like clutch situations and at any point in the round, like you understand where he is, but even if you know where he is, it's still like really hard to kill him, and you just had to respect the guy. It was just too insane.
I knew Cold was a star. He was always one of the best, if not the best players in Brazil.
Tradução ficou, né? Podia colocar uma estrela, né, tradução? Pô, sabia que o cara ia ser grande.
Was a star. He was always one of the best, if not the best players in Brazil. I never lost faith on him. Even when he had a bad performance, I knew that he was super good and he would.
Não, tô brincando, né? Valeu pelo vídeo, pela tradução. Vou reclamar desse.
I remember one time when he decided to not play CSGO anymore and he was playing League of Legends and he had a high rank and he was doing great. And I remember me convincing him on his team, talking to him and say, Cole, you need to come back. Man, you need to come back. Don't do that, please. Come back to our team. Let's do.
Caraca, eu não sabia do Cold Lauzeiro, mano.
I went to Cologne. Was my first boot camp to be playing the Cologne Major in 2015. Before my first practice, I asked them how hard was playing against European teams because I never played against Red. So and they said like you have like 1 second to kill them. If you don't kill them, they're gonna kill you. And I was okay. That sounds fair. In my first three practice, I dropped 47 bombs, 42 bombs, and 43 bombs. So, and I was like, oh, that's everything they have? I was just focused off myself.
Caraca,
I just
ele
forgot
lembra
all
até.
my entire life.
Se falasse 51 também, 52, ninguém ia, né?
When you have a person,
ninguém ia desacreditar de você, tá, Coldzera?
Problem is kind of hard to deal with the game, so I just put everything back and I just focused inside the game. I forgot about everything and I was just playing like 15 hours a day and I was really ready.
He used to be the first one in, last one out. It's not about just talent, it's about doing the basic steps very cleanly, not making mistakes. And that's kind of the way that he instructed Brazilian CS to come. More players learn to be thorough in their steps, not make that little mistake. And that's the best thing I can say about him, because he taught an entire generation of players how to do their due diligence. And that's amazing to me, at least coming from a coaching perspective.
Legal isso aí, né? Legal isso aí que o Zelão falou, né? O Cold sempre teve mesmo essa aura que falavam que ele sempre cobrava muito, né? Às vezes era até, a galera fala que às vezes até meio chato, né? Mas que sempre cobrava muito da galera. E, mano, isso, né? Pô, hoje nós estamos falando de um cara que foi 2 vezes o melhor do mundo, né? E, tipo, a parada de você não errar coisa simples, né? É uma coisa importante, velho. É uma coisa importante pra caramba, velho.
Early 2017 was a really weird time for SK Gaming. There was some turmoil within the team, which led to them removing FNX, this longtime core member. They ended up going to the E-League Atlanta major and having to play with a sub. It was Fox, a Portuguese player who was sort of at the end of his career, end of the road for him. Then they added Phelps after the fact, and it took them a little bit of time to kind of warm up with Phelps within the roster and the issues that came along with that. What was really interesting was FNX was transferred over to Immortals, who were like the next in line of the Brazilian teams, the next team from the region that was supposed to be like really top contenders. And so quickly, they just hit the ground running right into Katowice.
Cara, esse Major foi...
Immortals had some power in them that nobody realized, that maybe they didn't even perhaps realize.
Olha o configão aí.
And they would get a chance to showcase it at the second major in the year at Krakow.
So before the stage opened, we were screaming like, "Woo, let's go!" And you know, it felt like it was not even a video game. It felt like I was going on a football match.
Immortals was maybe the perfect contrast to the SK Gaming team that we knew, and kind of the system that they had built and the tendencies that we started to know SK for. Well, SK was methodical and well drilled, and there was a process to every single step they made. Immortals, on the other side of things, was just embodied by energy and by emotion.
SK had that style where we were meticulous, we were methodic, we knew our step by step. Immortals lived more of the Brazilian structure of let's hype this up. If we start a match well, or if we get into that rhythm, no one can stop us, even SK.
Taz goes to the smoke. Taz goes to the smoke. He won't find it. It's done.
I remember Lucas screaming and looking at the boys and saying, "We're not gonna lose this. We're not gonna lose. Let's go!" And we start to shout. The referee, he came to me and said, "Say to your team to not shout." And I got back to him. I'm not gonna say this. I want them to shout. I want them to feel. I want them to give everything there. Like they're gonna leave their soul, their body, their mind inside the server, and I don't care.
They were.
Cara, Zac God demais. Alô, Zac, cadê o Zac, hein? Não trombei ele ainda, acho que a 9Z já tá chegando, mas, mano, muito legal o que o Zeus falou, né? E era muito verdade. Toda vez que eu vi os jogos da Immortals, era muito isso, né? Se a Immortals entrava num hit, se o jogo virava o ritmo da Immortals, nem a SK parava os caras, velho.
A storm that they couldn't even control, that no one could control, and nobody knew where it was going to go. And they started going, and the emotion was flying, and the energy was building up. I don't even think they were able to control it in any meaningful way, and I don't think they wanted to control it in any meaningful way.
Legal esse daí que o gringo falou, né, velho?
It was very fun to see Henny and Kenji in the server together. Back in those days, Henny, I think he was the fastest Alper I ever saw in my life. And I saw Fallen playing in the same team. I saw Kogu, like some Brazilian, like the best Alpers. I never saw someone so fast as Henny.
Henny, what are you doing? That's a quad kill.
Olha o showtime aí.
KG, he's not just the game and the play style, like he's a leader, you know. KG could, if we were down like, I don't know, 10-5, he could like say some words that would ignite a fire inside of the other players, And that's what was a key part of a team that was missing on Immortals.
I thought they were a little bit crazy playing. I don't think that could last. And in the end, it didn't last much, to be honest. They only had this big round of the major. But if you think about it now, later on, I kind of think that they were a little bit ahead of the map at the time. Like they were able to get more space and be more aggressive than teams would be. And that kind of gave us their lead to them. They played well, they had their system, and it's a shame that they didn't win it. I think Gambit came back after losing the first map, they almost got it.
Hobbit with his clutches, Zeus with the clutches, they really needed to bring everything they've got into this game to be able to close it out, despite the result of
So this Phelps era of SK Gaming kind of ends in October of 2017, but really I think, a struggle to kind of incorporate him into the team and make him work appropriately the way they envisioned. That was a long time coming and a long time.
Era o Phelps para fazer solo A na miragem,
certainly
né?
That loss in Krakow and the fashion in which
E
it
mesmo
happened,
assim
where I
ganhou
think
muito título, viu?
One of the daggers that kind of led to his eventual removal. I kind of felt like that started the path to when he was going to leave the team.
Passaram meio rápido a passagem do Felpeira, hein? Felpeira ganhou uma pá de título no SK, né? Ó, não vou taxar o filme, né? Não sou eu o diretor da porra do filme, mas tá muito legal esse filme. Mas passou meio rápido, hein? Passou meio rápido.
Bolts. They actually bring in a player from the Immortals lineup that made that deep run, who showed some very good rifling and showed a different style.
The addition of Bolts instead of Phelps happened because the internal problems we're dealing with.
Não, o Phelps não quis ir, não. Ele não foi porque o fluxo não foi pra RMR, mas, né? Mandava uma ligação de vídeo pro cara, né?
And we didn't come to a solution where we could sustain Phelps.
Tem, mas Google Meet, como é que é o nome do bagulho lá? Até eu tenho que fazer umas reuniões de vez em quando, tenho que clicar no celular, lá aparece minha cara.
Team. Bolts was kind of a player that would fit a little bit more role-wise, because he's a little bit more passive, play more lurkers, so we found a way to get good.
Valeu pelo sub, Israel Suruba, valeu galera que tá ajudando aí, já vou liberar as mensagens.
SK with Bolts in the lineup went on a spree to end out 2017 of lifting trophies and lifting championships and showing that once again they'd found a recipe to be championship contenders.
When that phase team came up and we saw the news that they would be getting together, Loft, Nico, all those guys, Alu, Kyoshima at the time, it was kind of refreshing for us because it was the first time that we felt that some team could come and really try to take away our throne, So we felt challenged. It kind of gave us a bigger motivation to give a little bit more.
I don't think really I took a lot from Fallen. I think it's very dangerous to, when you lose to a team, you kind of lose, oh, they play really good, they did this really good, and you try to learn from them. But the moment you try to affect that on your team, you have different players, different philosophy, and it's very hard to copy that a lot. What I've done probably in the games was to take small moves, maybe setups, how they react, and stuff like that. I don't think Fallen in that sense were in my head. He probably thought more he's in my head than he actually was, I know this myself, if I feel like I'm having a good game plan and calling good against a specific style, you feel on top of the world. And
uma briguinha de ego, né, Kerrigan? Uma briguinha de ego, né? Mas tudo bem, Kerrigan. Um dia tu vai se aposentar, tu vai estar velhão e tu vai falar, pô, realmente nesse jogo eu fui lido, faz parte, né? Às vezes a gente também não é bem.
Every single situation,
não pega ar,
I think that's what happened, right? There are played us in many scenarios in the later stage of games. Yeah, I think the overthinking is always rough, but I learned obviously not to change my philosophy or change how I approach the game, but do small adaptations instead of overthinking that we should copy the best team in the world and play one-to-one like them, but rather find our own way to the top again. Back then it felt like we had the same as SK. We had Guardian versus Fallen, pretty two good orbers. We had Cold Zero, That's Wise versus Nico, really close as well. And then Rain and Furry, obviously, right? And then you have the team kind of set against each other, who is the best in different roles. And yeah, they came on top, and I'm not sure if we performed worse as players against them. I haven't checked that fact, but obviously we struggled as a team, both as individuals and team philosophy.
I don't think there was anything super specific about playing Carrion. It just happened that...
Vocês está brigado? Vocês querem que eu chame os dois pra vocês trocarem ideia? Camiseta da amizade. Kerrigan e Fallen, somos ótimos em game leaders. Quem ficar de mimimizinho não vai sair pra brincar. Porra, cara.
We won more than we lost at the time. The way we thought about the game was a little bit better than the way they thought, at least when we play ourselves, right? I remember I could study a little bit from their games and get a little bit of their openings, and I could break their openings with some picks here and there. And then I can't really say, like, the performance from the team was super good. The players we had at the time, they were playing their best game at their peak. Some of the best players in the world, and then stuff just happened.
Yeah, I don't think I played too often against City in 2016, maybe like once or twice, and obviously I didn't really stand a chance versus them back then. Not that I did in 2017. I think it was just inside the server. It just felt like we were getting outplayed when we were playing versus them. It seemed like they always like force us to do mistakes in clutch situations. I remember like we lost a lot of clutch situations, like late rounds, 3 versus 3. They always bait us out, and they just like win the clutch somehow. I think that was their biggest strength back then.
When you start doing very
Tem que
well,
ser muito bom em clutch mesmo, velho.
it's easy to get into a routine. It's easy to take some things for granted.
Falo que o Nicola é
It's
God,
easy
velho.
to not put in the
falo.
exact effort you were putting into the small details.
Eu falo.
We were really good, and we were first of our generation kind of a thing. We evolved the game. We needed to keep bettering ourselves, and some internal moments didn't allow history to follow that course where we'd keep bettering ourselves and keep humbling ourselves. And you hear all the time that you're really good. You start believing that you're really good. We knew in the start that the best will always make mistakes, and when we stop listening to the mistakes and just focusing on what we did right, that starts a little bit of the downturn. I think that's a little bit of every generational team, or every team that has a little bit of the best in the world in them. You're the only one that can take yourselves down, and that's kind of what we did.
I don't think that we did a good job at controlling our egos and solving the problems that were popping up, because when you are the best in the world, a lot of people are watching you and they want to beat you.
One more round, please.
I don't think we dealt very good with that. In a way, forgetting a little bit what we did to get there, how hard we worked to get there.
The ego or the selfishness can destroy a little bit yourself or the team as well. And I think in 2018, we kind of broke in pieces our team. We removed Taco. I think Taco was the most important piece inside the team, not just as a player, but as a human as well. And when we lose Taco, I think we lose kind of half of the team.
Later on, we decided to even remove Taco. I think that was our biggest mistake, because Taco was the glue of the team. With talks and maybe find the right approach, it would be fixable. But instead, we wanted to go international. And that's when we thought of playing with Simple and Flame at first.
Flame.
That almost happened. They were about to get into a plane, and they kind of gave up at the very end. That's when the international plan kind of had to go to a plan B.
We brought Stewie and Tarek. And for me, it was a crazy experience because I didn't speak in English at that time. So it was really hard for me.
Getting the chance to know Stewie and Tarek for me was very cool. I think two of the coolest guys I met in CS. It was amazing to play with Tarek as well. In-game was a little...
Ah, cara, é que sempre é o rolê de você ver depois, né, mano? Os caras são God, tem que ser respeitado também o que fizeram na história, né? Mas com certeza, né, velho? Com toda a humildade do mundo, eu nem vou colocar o Flame, mano, né? Você sonhou com o Simple, né? Você sonhou com o cara que foi o melhor jogador do mundo, né? Preciso falar, né? Então, tipo assim, é uma coisa que vai ficar sempre no imaginário. Imagina se o Simple tivesse vindo pro MBR, velho. tá ligado?
A little bit harder to really get him integrated into the team. A little bit because of the toxicity that existed there from the Brazilian part, unfortunately. And I think the team was decent. I think the team was good. Like, we had Yanko as a coach. I really liked Yanko as a coach. I think he was very strict. He tried to recreate the right spirit that we should have. Like, he's the guy that could come to someone and say, hey, take your foot away from the table, you know? Like, we're playing these kind of things that was pretty hard to do with very good players, you know? Like, you gotta have the attitude.
Enquanto isso, Tacos destruindo a Liquid, saindo de top 28 para top 2, até chegando a ficar, acho que algumas semanas top 1.
But in the end, you know, problems were too much and the burnout was kind of hard. Even changing the players, some of the spirit of the group was already damaged with all the years playing together in the burnout.
We just explode the team from inside to outside. I think it was so many problems outside, and we are putting all these problems or personal problems outside, inside the team. People are not comfortable. People are not happy. Like, we were kind of not enjoying playing CS.
Let's go! Woo! What a fucking game.
Actually, we were not playing bad. We were just...
Época que o Cerque, velho, e o Cerque e o Breeze. Vocês vão ver, vocês vão ver esse parte. Você vai ver o Cerque e o Breeze, cara. A última vez que eu vi eles na série, o Breeze tava com uma correntona, velho. De rapper, pá, com os anel de ouro e tal. Falei, caraca, velho. Os nerds que eu conhecia 3 anos atrás, cara.
Creating problems and not solutioning these problems. And we are just playing with the head, not inside the game.
I think there's two things to it when a team is falling down. The meta is changing, people are getting better, both as a team, also as individuals. But when you're also used to winning so much, maybe you lose some of that hunger. And when you lose some of that hunger and the meta is changing also, you will have a hard time coming back. And I think that's what happens to most top teams.
Caraca, velho. God Glaive, hein? God Glaive. E é isso, mano, né? Não é só porque os caras são top ou não que você é obrigado a concordar, mas isso que ele falou, mano, presente total, né, velho? Legal pra caramba essa reflexão, vou usar muito ela, né? Você perde aquela vontade máxima, não é que você fica sem vontade, mas você já tá ali, tá ligado? Você não é aquela mesma... Você não tá com aquela fome total igual você tava quando você era o newbie, tá ligado? Do rolê. E além disso, o meta vai mudando, a hora que você vai voltar atrás, às vezes é muito tarde. Você volta atrás para um 4º lugar, para um 5º lugar, mas não mais para o primeiro, né, velho?
People got tired of speaking English. We're speaking other language, not playing that well. We gotta go back to Brazilians. And that's when Cold convinced Taco to come back. Like, we kind of trying to fix mistakes we did in the past. We got Zeus again. And then for the new player, we tried Phelps once again. And in my opinion, we had the right pieces to kind of slowly get to where we want to be.
Mas aí também contra essas tralhas aí é...
But the patience just wasn't there anymore. And that's when Code kind of wanted to go for something more solo, and then he departed us to face later on.
Every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. We could have made ours last longer. And I think how we do it, each teammate that I had will have their version of it. But in the end, we all, I think, know individual things we could have done better to at least be more malleable toward the situation. To me, that's what we would have done. It's not one big...
Cara, sei lá, mano. Não é momento pra esse papo, tá? Mas eu ainda acho que esses caras vão jogar junto antes de acabar tudo, velho.
It's a sum of small things that we could have done to prevent it or extend our situation, sort of like Astralis did. It's about making the best of the situation and keeping it healthy.
I definitely think that...
Sei lá se tem como, sei lá se os caras vai ser... Mano, sei lá, velho.
Had an error.
No showmatch, mas no showmatch, vocês não estão acreditando que Imperial e 0-0 vai chegar na final? Ó vocês aí sem fé. Ó vocês aí.
They dominated the game for quite some time, and the story they have been making is truly amazing. Also coming from the things that they came from and coming to be the #1 team in the world for some time. I think that's a really good story, and yeah, I think they had an error for sure.
they're sacrificing everything, living in US, away from family, and they only do it just to play this game and to become the best. And I think that ignited something inside me the last few years to see what they have done for the Brazilian community, and obviously I wish to do the same.
Esse é o foda, mano. Isso é o que me deixa puto desses vídeos, velho. Eu já tô vendo isso já tem umas semanas. Os caras tão empolgadaço também pro Major do Brasil, velho. Às vezes era melhor não fazer nada de vídeo, velho. Pros caras chegar aqui, mano, tá ligado? Festa, leva o Kerrigan pra praia, caipirinha pro Simple. Ah, ninguém liga pro Major no Brasil. Quando acabar vão falar aquele Major lá na América do Sul. Mas não, os caras tão hypadaço, velho, pro Major no Brasil. O Zayu, eu nunca vi o Zayu tão hypado pra um campeonato, cara. Saca? Tamo hypando os caras pra caramba, velho.
For new ideals, right? To ignite some energy in them and fire that they can always manage to win, even if they don't believe always.
They were not playing Counter-Strike by the books. I don't think they've ever played Counter-Strike by the books.
Caraca, galera, mas aí vocês estão colocando que calma, isso aqui é um vídeo da República Imperial que vai ser invadida pelo Império Fúria, velho. Calma lá também, né, galera?
Even if they don't believe always.
They were not playing Counter-Strike by the books. I don't think they've ever played Counter-Strike by the books. They wrote their own rules. A yin and a yang, right? You had the Fallen philosophy or school of thoughts, which was really slow and controlled and always in the great parameters, whereas Furia was more the absolute chaos, playing the odds or playing against the odds, playing the fast Counter-Strike when they had to play slow, gambling which you didn't really have to, pushing the envelope, going ahead and taking territory when you didn't need to.
They have a incredible talented team. I think that's most scary or annoying team to play because you don't know which Fury will turn up on the server. Because Serato will be there. If artists will having high impact, it's really hard to play them.
Good to play around for this one.
I think they have a special capability of playing in a way that no one else plays. And I think that makes them scary and that makes them win games. And that's why they had the success they had. But at the same time, it's not a system that you can consistently be good.
I think they have strong individuals. I just think like their playstyle is not consistent. I think their playstyle it's good when it works, but when it doesn't, it looks really bad, you know?
Caraca. Duro, hein, Nicola? Cadê tu no Major?
I rate Serato and Yuri very highly as a duo. I think they're very skilled. I think Serato, especially in the last year or two, has been playing lights out. And I think the fact that they don't have any, not major trophies, but any trophies, probably speaks volumes of how mismanaged that team.
Ah, o Yanko vai se ferrar também, você, viu, Yanko? O Yanko, cara, o Yanko pega ar demais com o estilo da Fúria, cara. Bicho, esse cara pega ar demais, cara. Olha lá, cara, eu pausei, tá no escrito. É a prova que esse time tem sérios problemas de gerência, velho. Cara, esse cara pega ar.
Playing lights out, and I think the fact that they don't have any, not major trophies, but any trophies, probably speaks volumes of how mismanaged that team has been.
If they would have the other system that everyone has, if they would think the way that everyone thinks, and they understand that now they can play it too, and then if you can add what they have as a difference, that's when I think Fury could be scary. Like I kind of feel that movement happening right now a little bit on their game style. Some maps And I think if Fúria manage to do that properly, they can become a scary team in terms of winning tournaments. But until they do that, I don't think it's going to work ever to becoming a top team.
Kindar é God. Mas, cara, é um pouco disso sim, né, galera? Isso aí, né, também não é muita invenção pra ninguém. Essa parte aí do Fallen, né, é isso, é literalmente, né? E a Fúria tá tentando modificar isso, mas a questão, velho, é que, né, será que você consegue fazer isso tão rápido? Será que você consegue fazer? É difícil, né? Mas também sinto que eles estão tentando, né? A gente fez os reviews da Fúria da Pro League, principalmente. Do RMR foi meio que, né, nem teve muita coisa, assim. Mas a gente viu, né? A Fúria jogando com algumas coisas diferentes, né, velho? Mas é aquilo lá, você não pode perder a característica total do seu time, senão você também fica muito ruim, tá ligado? Então esse balanço aí que a Fúria vai procurar, velho. Tá procurando. Né?
How did you find Furia? How did you find your
Vamos ver se eles acham.
Actually, it was the other way around. Fúria found me. I was just playing Brazil and Fúria had like team. I was playing with Yuri on another team. That's something that most people don't know. I played Fury for like, I think that was like 3 months. Then he left the team to join Fúria. Fúria was struggling to win tournaments in Brazil, and then they made changes. So Guerri became a coach, and then they got me and Caserato.
Contra Sharks, velho.
And we started playing tournaments. So I kind of felt just in the first month of the lineup that we had like a very strong team in my hands.
Art is that style, not only because he's the ideal of Furia and as such, of course, he's the maestro deciding what kind of game they want to play, but also because he individually embodies that aggression and he always put himself kind of at the elm or the tip of the spear to make the difference for Furia, for good or worse.
The way I play, of course, that's a lot of reasoning behind that, but that's just the way I play. That's not like something that I really think about, like, oh, I'm gonna play like this, and I'm gonna improve like this. No, I just play CS the way I think it fits best, and the way I can extract more of myself, and I can put my teammates in better situations. You know, it's just CS, CS is basically doing the best things you can do to win, so there's no right and wrong, it's just what can you do best.
It would be naive to say that just because they have the audience with them, they're going to win. That's obviously a simplification, but we know how emotional Brazilians are when they play Counter-Strike. We know they put everything on the table. We know they play with their hearts out. If there ever was a moment to fed off of that energy, that would be in Rio.
Remember, this is a major, and if you're playing Fury as the best team and you're starting to feel the pressure because of the crowd, then obviously that has a huge effect on you. If it starts getting too quiet in the arena, we have all been there, we all sit and play or listen to that, suddenly it turns really fast to high pressure for the home team.
No, I don't feel pressure at all.
Não, nós não vamos pressure pra home team, caramba, velho. Nós sabemos, velho, nós sabemos do nosso momento. Não vai ter vergonha. Nós sabemos do nosso momento, velho. Nós sabemos do nosso momento, velho. Nós vamos empurrar acreditando no milagre.
I work for this, so I don't have to be pressured because I just need to do what I need to do and what I love to do. So I don't feel pressure because of this. I feel thankful for being here.
It's gonna be more about life than only CS. When we join the server and we play, it's something more personal, something more real.
My parents are gonna be in Rio for sure. They love CS. My father loved to watch me. For me, he's my big supporter. He's like same than an analyst and a coach. He was calling me, hey, you need to do that. You need to be more calm. Do that. Help the kids. I was, okay, father, don't worry. I'm here.
Proudness and happiness.
Tem esse rolê, né, que o Code, a galera... Olha o NQZ, velho!
To being able to play in front of a Brazilian crowd, my hometown. I hope that we can make a good show for the Brazilian crowd.
Segunda-feira eu tô lá, NQZ! Segunda-feira eu tô lá! Gritando pra vocês!
Experiência maravilhosa poder estar tendo esse evento aqui no Brasil. Depois de tantos anos de luta, tantos anos que a gente passou para construir um cenário no Brasil. Não fiz absolutamente nada disso sozinho, mas fico muito feliz de ter conseguido, junto com vocês, tantas coisas que nós fizemos bacanas. Todas as pessoas que jogaram comigo, minha família, quem criou o evento, vocês.
Obrigado!
Todo mundo ajudou muito a gente mudar nossas vidas, né? E o jogo é isso, o jogo é muito mais do que só um tiro, é muito mais do que só tentar ganhar do adversário.
Com certeza, velho.
É sobre você conhecer a si mesmo, conhecer outras pessoas, desenvolver habilidades, curtir, passar bons. A gente tá atrás de sentir vezes, né? Usar o game para esquecer alguns outros problemas, mas no fim das contas a gente tá atrás de sentir as coisas, de se sentir bem, né? Eu espero que o jogo faça bem para vocês como fez bem para mim na minha vida e espero que a gente possa continuar juntos, compartilhando esse sonho que a gente tem através dos games por muito mais tempo. Muito obrigado por tudo sempre.
Caraca, velho. Nós que agradecemos, professor. Nós que agradecemos. E, porra, velho, é isso, né? Eu acho que, né, nesse caso específico, né, nesse caso específico do que o Fallen tá falando, acho que eu posso dizer até melhor do que o Fallen, né? O tanto de pessoas e de coisas que o CS acabou proporcionando, né, mano? São tantos e tantos anos aí nessa caminhada. E, mano, isso é a melhor coisa, velho. Isso é a melhor coisa, velho. Seja o level que for, né? Seja o level que for, galera. Porque tem gente que tá aí do outro lado da tela, né? E o que te trouxe o CS, tá ligado? Pro Fallen trouxe várias coisas, inclusive Majors, né? Para outro trouxe outras coisas. Para você, talvez, em casa, não te trouxe nenhum título, se pá. Você jogando, mas te trouxe, velho, um título que você se sentiu estando junto com o time, ou amigos que você joga em casa, ou a zoeira que você faz num chat, ou... É isso, né, mano? Essa é a parada, tá ligado? Eu ainda tenho muitas dificuldades, às vezes, pra conseguir sempre centrar, né, mano, o tanto de coisa da hora do que a gente viveu, tá ligado? Tipo, tanto de coisa da hora onde a gente chegou, onde, tipo, a gente acaba sendo meio que um porta-voz disso tudo, tá ligado? E é muito louco quando a gente vê a parada, velho, em como ela foi criada. E eu acho não, tenho certeza, que tudo que aconteceu agora, falando especificamente de mim, né? Tudo que aconteceu comigo, que culminou nesse Major do Brasil e que eu não possa estar na transmissão, eu acredito que tem um porquê. E eu acredito que esse porquê vai ser respondido junto com a torcida, tá ligado? Eu acredito que esse porquê vai ser respondido eu sendo o que me fez chegar até aqui. Um cara normal, que curtia CS e que gostava muito de assistir CS, tá ligado? Eu acho que vai ser isso, saca? É isso que Deus está me guardando para esses próximos dias, tá ligado? Então vai ser muito God, velho. Vai ser da hora pra caramba, velho. Vai ser good demais, velho. Né?